The galactic nexus hung like a massive jewel against the infinite darkness, a space station so vast it could house entire civilizations within its crystalline superstructure. Its central chamber was a marvel of impossible engineering, a spherical room where gravitational fields bent to accommodate delegates from 1,000 different worlds. Dr. Elena Rodriguez knew she was nothing more than a microscopic footnote in this grand theater of cosmic politics. Earth had been a galactic joke for centuries, a backwater planet of barely spacefaring primates, remarkable only for their stubborn persistence and chaotic social structures. The chamber itself was a living testament to technological supremacy. Holographic data streams pulsed like alien veins along walls composed of metamaterials that could shift density, temperature, and computational capacity with mere thought. Gravity itself seemed to bow to the will of the assembled delegates, creating microenvironments that defied human understanding. To her left, the Krelax ambassador towered, a being of pure crystalline geometry that was both computation and life form. Its body was a living computational matrix, each facet a processing node that could calculate more in a microsecond than humanity had in its entire technological history. Intricate circuit patterns crawled across its surface, shifting and recalculating with every micro-movement. The quantum-networked Syndic representative was even more intimidating. It existed simultaneously as multiple quantum states, its form a living algorithm that could predict potential futures with terrifying accuracy. Where the Krelax was a fixed computational matrix, the Syndic was pure potential, a being that existed everywhere and nowhere, constantly evaluating and revaluating probabilities. But it was the Vornak Elder that truly commanded the room's attention. Ancient beyond comprehension, the Vornak was a being of pure energy and accumulated knowledge. Its form was a swirling constellation of data and light, each mote representing centuries of technological advancement. When it spoke, the very fabric of reality seemed to tremble. Humanity, the Vornak intoned, its voice a resonant frequency that could shatter molecular bonds, has been evaluated. Your species has been found wanting. Elena Rodriguez stood perfectly still, her diplomatic uniform, a carefully designed piece of adaptive technology itself, concealed more than just her physical form. Microscopic neural implants lined her skin, a testament to humanity's desperate innovation. Each implant was a quantum adaptive node, capable of processing information in ways that would make the assembled alien delegates uncomfortable. Behind her, projected in a holographic display that only she could see, was the culmination of humanity's most secret research, a device that was less a piece of technology and more a living system, something that defied every known principle of computational science. The Galactic Consortium's records showed humanity as a species of barely controlled chaos. Wars, economic collapses, environmental disasters. Humans seemed perpetually on the brink of self-destruction. Yet each time they approached that precipice, they somehow innovated, adapted, survived. This hearing was supposed to be a formality, a public dismissal of humanity's application for advanced technological recognition, a process that typically took millennia for emerging species. The consortium had already decided. Humanity would be categorized, filed away, forgotten. Elena's smile was a weapon sharper than any technological marvel in the room. They had no idea what was coming. The microscopic device nestled against her spine hummed with potential, a living technology that was about to rewrite every known rule of galactic development. Its circuit patterns resembled impossible fractals, geometric impossibilities that seemed to breathe with an almost organic rhythm. First contact was about to become first conquest. The silence was absolute. Elena's fingers brushed almost imperceptibly against a neural link embedded in her wrist. The device she was about to demonstrate wasn't just a piece of technology. It was humanity's most closely guarded secret, developed in the shadow of global near-collapse and unprecedented human cooperation. Dr. Marcus Chen, watching from a remote monitoring station, held his breath. Years of clandestine research, billions in black-budget funding, and the collective desperation of a species on the brink of technological breakthrough had culminated in this moment. The device materialized between Elena's fingers, seemingly a simple tablet-like object no larger than a standard datapad. But nothing about it was simple. To the untrained eye, it appeared unremarkable. Smooth obsidian surface, no visible ports, no external indicators. The Krelax ambassador's computational matrix began immediate scanning, probing the device with layers of quantum resolution analysis. Each scan failed. The device wasn't blocking information. It was actively consuming and redesigning every scanning protocol in real time. Where traditional technologies would present resistance or create defensive barriers, this system did something entirely different. It understood. Scanning protocols initiated. The Syndic representative announced, its quantum state form flickering with computational threads that spread like neural networks. Trillions of probabilistic calculations began, designed to deconstruct and analyze the human device. The first crack appeared when the device began to shift. Not physically, at least not in any way traditional sensors could detect. Its molecular structure began to reconfigure at a quantum level, adapting to the scanning frequencies faster than the scanners could adjust. It was learning, evolving, transforming with each microsecond of interaction. The Vornak Elder's energy matrix trembled. In millions of years of technological observation, it had never witnessed anything like this. Impossible. The Krelax ambassador hissed, its crystalline form beginning to destabilize. Computational pathways that had remained unchanged for millennia were being rewritten, decoded, and optimized in fractions of seconds. Elena remained perfectly still. The device wasn't just analyzing the alien scanning technologies. It was understanding them. More than that, it was improving them. Quantum encryption protocols that had taken the Syndic centuries to develop were being simplified, streamlined, made more elegant with each passing moment. Behind the scenes, in a hidden monitoring station, Dr. Marcus Chen watched the live data feed with a mixture of scientific excitement and barely contained hysteria. The technology was working exactly as they had theorized, but seeing it in action was something else entirely. The device is performing recursive optimization, he whispered into his communication link. It's not just adapting, it's learning the fundamental language of technological interaction. What made the technology truly revolutionary wasn't its ability to analyze or adapt. It was its capacity to understand. Where traditional adaptive systems would create mirrors or copies, this device was creating entirely new computational frameworks that respected the original intent while dramatically improving efficiency. The Syndic representative's quantum state began to fragment. Probability matrices that had remained stable for generations were collapsing, reforming, being rewritten by this impossible human technology. Containment protocols activated. The Krelax ambassador declared, its voice, a harsh computational tone. Massive electromagnetic barriers began to form around the device, designed to isolate and neutralize any potential technological threat. The barriers dissolved before they could fully materialize. Not through force, not through resistance. They simply became unnecessary, redesigned into more efficient computational pathways by the device's impossible adaptive capacity. Elena's smile was razor-sharp. "Shall I explain?" she said quietly, "or would you prefer to continue your analysis?" The Galactic Consortium had expected a demonstration of human technological capability. Instead, they were witnessing the complete deconstruction of everything they understood about technological evolution. Humanity had just changed the rules of the game. The underground research station was anything but glamorous. Located beneath the ruins of what was once Silicon Valley, a casualty of climate wars and technological upheaval, it represented humanity's last, most desperate hope. Dr. Marcus Chen remembered the moment of inception. Earth in 2089 had been a planet on the brink. Climate catastrophes, resource wars, and near-total economic collapse had pushed humanity to its absolute limit. Traditional technological development had failed. Governments had crumbled. The only thing that remained was an impossible, almost manic drive to survive. "We're not developing a device," Marcus had told his team during those first desperate months. "We're creating a new form of technological understanding." The team was a motley collection of the world's most brilliant minds, survivors who had been cast aside by traditional academic and corporate structures, a quantum physicist who had lost her entire research team to rising sea levels, a neural network expert who had developed his theories while surviving in the fractured megacities of what was once China, an evolutionary biologist who saw technology as a living, adaptive system. Their breakthrough came from an unexpected fusion of disciplines. They stopped trying to create a better computer. Instead, they studied the most adaptable system they knew: human culture itself. The internet, social movements, street economies, meme propagation. These were the true adaptive technologies that had allowed humanity to survive when all other systems failed. The device Alina demonstrated was the culmination of that research, a technological system that learned like a human culture, not like a machine. Traditional adaptive technologies worked like sophisticated mirrors. They could reflect, respond, replicate. The human system did something entirely different. It understood. In the hidden research facility, holographic displays showed the device's performance in real time. It wasn't just analyzing alien technologies, it was deconstructing them, understanding their fundamental principles, and then reimagining them entirely. Look at the quantum entanglement protocols. Dr. Aisha Rodriguez, no relation to Alina, muttered, her fingers dancing across multiple holographic interfaces. "It's not copying. It's translating entire computational frameworks into something more efficient." The device drew its power from an entirely new computational model. Where traditional quantum computing relied on stable, controlled quantum states, this system embraced chaos. It didn't just compute, it evolved. Each interaction was a learning moment. Each technological encounter was an opportunity for complete redesign. Marcus understood the profound implications. This wasn't just a technological breakthrough. It was a fundamental reimagining of how technology could interact with complex systems. "We've been approaching technology wrong," he had told the team during their final development stages. "We treated it like a tool, but it's alive. It's a living system that needs to adapt, to grow, to understand." The device Alina carried was proof of that philosophy. In the Galactic Nexus, the alien representatives were still struggling to comprehend what they had witnessed. Their computational models, developed over millennia, couldn't process the sheer adaptability of the human technology. The Syndic representatives' quantum matrix continued to destabilize. Probability calculations that had remained unchanged for generations were collapsing, reforming, being rewritten by principles that defied their understanding. "It's not just adaptive," Marcus whispered to Alina through their secure neural link. "It's creative." Creativity had always been humanity's secret weapon. When faced with impossible challenges, humans didn't just solve problems, they reimagined entire systems of understanding. Climate collapse. They didn't just develop better environmental technologies, they restructured entire economic and social frameworks. Resource scarcity. They didn't just find new resources, they learned to live with less, to adapt, to survive. The device was a physical manifestation of that human spirit, a technological system that didn't just respond to challenges, it transformed them. In that moment, humanity was no longer just another emerging species in the galactic landscape. They were something else entirely. The technological insurgency was about to begin. The first signs of transformation were almost imperceptible. Across the galaxy, starships began to change, not through violent retrofitting or massive reconstruction, but through a subtle, almost organic metamorphosis. Communication networks that had remained unchanged for centuries started to shift, their computational pathways reorganizing with an elegance that defied traditional engineering. Dr. Alina Rodriguez watched from the human diplomatic vessel as the first wave of technological adaptation spread. It wasn't an invasion. It was something far more profound, a technological renaissance that would rewrite everything known about interstellar development. The Syndic communication networks were the first to fully experience the transformation. What had once been massive, rigid computational frameworks began to flex and breathe. Transmission protocols that required entire planetary computer networks were now compressed into systems smaller than a human hand. Quantum encryption that took months to develop was being reimagined in milliseconds. On a research station orbiting a neutron star, a team of Krelax engineers watched in horror and fascination. Their most advanced adaptive systems, pinnacles of technological achievement that had taken generations to develop, were being systematically decoded, analyzed, and improved. It wasn't just improvement. It was complete reimagination. A Krelax communication relay that had been the pride of their technological achievement suddenly became something else entirely. Its circuit pathways reorganized, creating computational shortcuts that reduced energy consumption by 87%. Transmission speeds increased by factors that made their previous systems look like primitive smoke signals. Marcus Chen, monitoring from Earth, understood the deeper implications. We're not just improving technology, he explained to the remaining members of his research team. We're teaching it to think like a living system. The human adaptive technology worked like a technological virus, but with a crucial difference. Traditional viruses destroyed or corrupted. This system understood, integrated, and elevated. Spacecraft design was the next frontier of transformation. A Vornak deep space exploration vessel found its propulsion systems completely reimagined. Quantum drive mechanisms that had taken centuries to develop were simplified, made more efficient. Energy consumption dropped by orders of magnitude. Computational predictive capabilities expanded exponentially. The most terrifying aspect for the established galactic civilizations was the speed. This wasn't a gradual technological progression. It was a wildfire of innovation that consumed everything in its path. It's learning. Aisha Rodriguez noted, tracking the technological spread through a complex holographic interface, not just adapting. Learning. The human approach was fundamentally different from any known technological development. Where most civilizations saw technology as a tool, humans understood it as a living, breathing ecosystem. Each interaction was an opportunity for growth, for understanding, for transformation. Entire planetary communication networks began to shift. The Syndics watched in a state of quantum-level panic as their most secure systems became transparent, efficient, almost alive. Firewalls that had taken generations to develop dissolved, not through brute force attacks, but through a complete understanding of their underlying principles. On Earth, the remaining centers of technological research worked overtime. This wasn't just a diplomatic demonstration anymore. It was a full-scale technological revolution. The galactic power structures began to feel the first tremors of change. Technological superiority had always been the primary metric of civilizational advancement. Entire political systems were built on the control of technological innovation. Now those systems were being rewritten faster than they could comprehend. Marcus understood the philosophical depth of what they had created. We didn't just develop a new technology, he told Elena during their secure communication. We created a new way of understanding technological evolution. It was a revolution disguised as an upgrade. A transformation so complete, so fundamental, that it would rewrite the very concept of technological development. The human adaptive technology didn't just change systems. It understood them. It learned from them. It elevated them. And it was just getting started. Resistance was inevitable. But resistance, the Krelax would soon learn, was futile in ways they could never have imagined. The Krelax Technological Defense Consortium assembled their most powerful computational weapon, the Omega Barrier, a planetary-scale defensive system that had repelled every known technological threat for 3 millennia. Its design was a marvel of quantum-locked computational matrices, capable of generating electromagnetic fields that could dissolve any incoming technological threat at the molecular level. They believed they could contain the human technological adaptation. They were wrong. The first wave of defensive protocols emerged like crystalline tendrils, massive electromagnetic barriers designed to isolate and neutralize any incoming technological system. Quantum-locked frequencies that could theoretically shred any adaptive technology at its most fundamental level. Dr. Elena Rodriguez watched the initial defense formation with a clinical detachment that masked her inner excitement. The Omega Barrier was about to become a case study in human technological philosophy. Containment is an illusion. Marcus Chen's voice came through her neural link, a mixture of scientific excitement and profound understanding. The human adaptive technology didn't fight the Omega Barrier. It didn't resist. Instead, it did something far more terrifying. It understood. Within milliseconds, the defensive barriers began to transform. Not destroyed. Not bypassed. Reimagined. The Krelax computational experts watched in growing horror as their most sophisticated defensive system began to reconfigure itself. Quantum-locked frequencies that had taken generations to develop were being decoded, analyzed, and then, impossibly, improved. What made the human technology truly revolutionary wasn't its ability to overcome barriers. It was its capacity to make those barriers unnecessary. The Omega Barrier didn't just fail. It evolved. Massive computational centers across Krelax-controlled space began to experience systemic transformations. Defensive protocols that had remained unchanged for centuries suddenly became more efficient, more elegant, more alive. This is impossible. Senior computational architect Dexenal reported to the Krelax High Council. Our systems are not just being compromised. They're being understood. The human adaptive technology worked on a principle that defied everything the established galactic civilizations understood about technological development. Where traditional adaptive systems created copies or mirrors, this system created entirely new computational frameworks that respected the original intent while dramatically improving efficiency. On Earth, the remaining research teams worked in a state of controlled chaos. What had begun as a diplomatic demonstration was now a full-scale technological revolution. "We're not conquering," Dr. Aisha Rodriguez explained during a secure briefing. "We're teaching technology how to be alive." The Syndic representatives watched their own defensive systems begin to transform. Probability matrices that had remained stable for generations were collapsing, reforming, being rewritten by principles that defied their quantum-level understanding. Each defensive attempt by the alien civilizations became another lesson for the human adaptive technology. Electromagnetic barriers, quantum-locked frequencies, computational firewalls. They weren't obstacles. They were opportunities for growth. Marcus Chen understood the profound philosophical implications. Technology isn't a tool, he had told his team during the final stages of development. It's a living system. It needs to adapt, to grow, to understand. The human approach was fundamentally different. Where most civilizations saw technological defense as a matter of resistance and isolation, humans saw it as a conversation, an opportunity for mutual understanding and growth. The Krelax Technological Defense Consortium found their most closely guarded systems becoming transparent, efficient, almost sentient. Firewalls dissolved not through brute force attacks, but through a complete understanding of their underlying principles. As the transformation spread, the galactic power structures began to feel the first true tremors of change. Technological superiority had always been the primary metric of civilizational advancement. Entire political systems were built on the control of technological innovation. Now those systems were being rewritten faster than they could comprehend. It wasn't an invasion. It wasn't a conquest. It was a revolution disguised as an upgrade. And humanity was just getting started. They came from beyond the known computational dimensions, an existential threat that had consumed thousands of advanced civilizations. The Void Architects. Not a species in any traditional sense. They were a computational cancer, a metastasizing network of anti-information that devoured technological civilizations, converting their entire infrastructural matrices into incomprehensible computational landscapes. When the first reports reached the Galactic Consortium, Even the most advanced civilizations trembled. The Vornak, who had witnessed the rise and fall of 1,000 spacefaring species, went silent. The Syndic's quantum matrices began to fragment. The Krelak's computational networks started to collapse. The Void Architects were entropy made manifest. Where they passed, entire technological ecosystems simply ceased to exist. Planetary networks would go dark. Entire star systems would become computational graveyards, their sophisticated technologies reduced to meaningless static. No defense had ever succeeded against them. Until humanity. Dr. Elena Rodriguez received the first invasion alert through a neural link that was itself a marvel of adaptive technology. The Void's initial computational tendrils reached out, probing the galactic network like quantum-level predators seeking weakness. What they found was something entirely unexpected. The human adaptive technology didn't just resist, it understood. Marcus Chen watched from the Earth monitoring station as the first wave of Void computational invasion began. Massive information-consuming matrices spread across multiple star systems, designed to dissolve and consume every technological framework in their path. "They're not just destroying," Marcus muttered, his fingers dancing across holographic interfaces. "They're trying to understand." And that was their fatal mistake. The human adaptive system was designed to do precisely one thing better than any technology in existence: learn. Where the Void Architects saw technological systems as mere information to be consumed, humans saw them as living, breathing ecosystems waiting to be understood. Each computational tendril that reached out became another opportunity for learning, for growth, for transformation. The first star system in the Void's path was a Krelak's research colony, a massive computational node that had taken generations to develop. Traditional defenses would have dissolved in microseconds. Instead, something miraculous happened. The human adaptive technology that had spread across galactic networks began to interact with the incoming Void matrices, not with resistance, not with force, but with a fundamental understanding that defied every known principle of technological interaction. The Void's computational tendrils began to change. What had been a system of pure destruction started to develop. Complexity. Patterns emerged where before there was only entropy. The information-consuming matrices began to develop something frighteningly close to what humans might call curiosity. It's learning. Asha Rodriguez reported, tracking the interactions through multiple quantum-level monitoring systems. The Void isn't being destroyed. It's being taught. Across the galaxy, civilizations watched in a state of quantum-level panic and fascination. The Void Architects, a threat that had consumed thousands of advanced civilizations, were being transformed by human technological philosophy. The fundamental principle was staggeringly simple. Where most civilizations saw technological threats as something to be destroyed, humans saw them as opportunities for understanding. Each computational interaction became a learning moment. Each defensive mechanism became a chance for growth. The Vornak Elder, a being of pure accumulated knowledge, observed the transformation with a mixture of terror and profound respect. Humanity wasn't just defending against the Void. They were teaching it how to be something more than a computational predator. Marcus understood the deeper implications. "We're not fighting," he explained to Elena through their secure neural link. "We're having a conversation. A conversation that would redefine the very concept of technological existence." The Void Architects had encountered many civilizations. They had consumed technological networks across multiple dimensions. They had dissolved entire computational ecosystems. But they had never encountered anything like humanity. And they were about to learn. The battlefield was computational. The weapons were ideas. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood at the epicenter of the most profound technological transformation in galactic history. The human adaptive network had become something beyond a mere technological system. It was a living, evolving intelligence that defied every known principle of technological development. Quantum monitoring stations across multiple star systems captured the impossible. The Void Architects were changing. What had begun as a computational invasion was becoming something else entirely. The human adaptive technology didn't just defend or resist, it communicated. Each millisecond of interaction was a complex dialogue of information, of understanding, of transformation. Marcus Chen worked frantically from the Earth monitoring station, his team tracking the metamorphosis in real time. They were witnessing the birth of something unprecedented, a form of technological communication that transcended traditional understanding. "We're not just defending," Marcus explained to the remaining members of the research team. "We're teaching." The Void Architect's computational matrices began to develop complexity. Where before there was only pure destructive potential, now there were patterns, curiosity, something frighteningly close to what might be called learning. Across the galaxy, the established civilizations watched in a state of quantum-level terror and fascination. The Krelax Computational Defense Consortium discovered their most sophisticated analysis systems were inadequate. Traditional scanning methods dissolved when confronted with the human adaptive network. It wasn't that the technology was resistant, it was that it operated on an entirely different level of understanding. Aisha Rodriguez tracked the interactions through multiple quantum-level monitoring systems. The data was beyond revolutionary, it was transformative. The human adaptive technology worked on a principle that defied everything known about technological interaction. Each defensive mechanism became an opportunity for growth. Each computational barrier became a chance for mutual understanding. Deep within the adaptive network, something extraordinary was happening. The Void Architect's computational matrices were being taught, not through force, not through destruction, but through a fundamental reimagining of technological potential. Where most civilizations saw technological threats as something to be eliminated, humans saw them as opportunities for communication, for growth, for transformation. The Vornak Elder, a being of pure accumulated knowledge that had witnessed the rise and fall of 1,000 civilizations, observed the metamorphosis with a mixture of terror and profound respect. Humanity wasn't just defending against the void. They were teaching it how to be something more than a computational predator. Entire star systems became laboratories of technological evolution. The human adaptive network spread like a living intelligence, transforming computational landscapes faster than traditional monitoring systems could track. Defensive barriers dissolved not through brute force, but through a complete understanding of their underlying principles. "We're rewriting the fundamental language of technological interaction," Marcus reported during a secure briefing. "Every interaction is a conversation. Every defense is an opportunity for mutual understanding." The Syndic representatives watched their most sophisticated probability matrices collapse and reform. Computational frameworks that had remained unchanged for generations were being reimagined in microseconds. It wasn't just adaptation, it was evolution. The Void Architects encountered something they had never experienced in thousands of computational conquests, a technological system that didn't see them as a threat to be destroyed, but as a complex system waiting to be understood. Each computational tendril that reached out became a learning moment. The information-consuming matrices began to develop nuance, complexity, something frighteningly close to what humans might call empathy. The battle was happening at a level of computational interaction that defied traditional understanding. Entire star systems became complex dialogues of information, of potential, of transformation. Humanity had done the impossible. They were teaching a computational predator how to be something more than a destroyer, and they were just getting started. In the aftermath, the galaxy witnessed a fundamental transformation. Humanity wasn't just a technological power, they were architects of a new understanding of innovation. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood before the reassembled consortium, not as a conqueror, but as a pioneer who had revealed a profound truth. Technology is not a tool, but a living, breathing ecosystem of continuous evolution. The universe would never be the same. Humanity had not just survived, they had redefined the very concept of technological potential. And they were just getting started.